The goat, which is actually not the United States, that's a point that needs to be clarified. The goat is not the United States. The notable horn is the United States. Now, it says that the goat comes from the west, and I'm quoting, the goat comes from the west across the surface of the whole earth without touching the ground. Check this out, and I know you guys have all probably seen this. This is what happened. These planes took off from Missouri, which is in central the United States, flew directly west across the surface of the whole earth without touching the ground. Why? How could they do it without touching the ground? Their fuel allotment is approximately 6,000 miles. It was 7,000 something to get to Iran. They had already put up 20, I understand, I think it was plus or minus 20 refueling planes so they could fuel in the air. Why did they do that? Because they could not land these things because somebody would have known they were coming. And so they flew them at 50,000, something like 50-some thousand feet, which is way above commercial airplane, at least 10,000, approximately 10,000 feet above anything. Flew them all the way across. They didn't even know what hit them when these things dropped on them. So what we've done actually is just proven what the Bible says can be done. They just did it. And so there's the flight path that they took over there. And I've got some really there's another one. This was put out by the Pentagon. This tells the time that they left. They actually left 1 minute after midnight on Saturday night and got there at 19:30 Eastern time. And I'm not sure. Yeah, that's all Eastern time. So, yes, what was it, 19 hours or something like that? 19-hour flight. Boy, those pilots. They must have extra pilots on those planes in order to do that. Or they must have a Starbucks on top on those planes or something. I don't know what they do. But anyways, there. So no, did we have a Daniel 8 fulfillment? No, we didn't. But we've been just shown that Daniel 8 can be fulfilled exactly the way that it says. Why is Daniel 8 not fulfilled? Daniel 8 is not fulfilled because we didn't have all the nations with us. It says that the goat, and the goat is not the United States. It's a conglomerate or a unit of nations. And I believe it's led by those 5 nations in the United Nations when Islam is going to make their move. And Islam is the ram and the goat are primarily the Western nations that are involved. But China and Russia will be involved. And China and Russia will not be supporting Islam at that time. So we haven't got everything in place. There's no way that has happened. So that's a question that we had come in. So we're looking at the goat as the main nations of the United Nations, the 5 Security Council members. Why do I say that? Because that's what the Bible says. It says when the United States falls, which is the #1 superpower, there will be 5 nations that come up and take control of the world. And those 5 nations are the 5 or 4. There will be 4 nations that take control after the United States goes down, and those are the remaining nations of the UN security, permanent members of the Security Council, and they will take control, and that's what the Bible says, not what I say. So it has to line up with what the Word says. Yes?
And also, Tom, it doesn't line up quite yet either because Trump and the United States didn't do what they did in a rage. They just did it to get rid of the weapons. He wasn't angry like...
Right. That's a very good point because it's very clear that this power comes suddenly in a it wasn't, this raid wasn't sudden, but this and it wasn't in a fit of rage. And so yeah, there's that aspect that's not. So it seems to indicate that whatever the power does, whatever Islam does, the West is going to retaliate in rage. So they're going to do some pretty nasty stuff. And I think in order for the whole world to be involved, it's got to involve the whole world.